has dried, pull up the foam tape to reveal a nice clean edge to our road. Now, using the foam tape from the kit, position the forms for our cross street. Mix up another batch of joint compound and pave away. Don't forget that little trick of mixing the paint right into the concrete. On the gravel plant side of Main Street, we are going to let the pavement come to an end so our gravel road can begin. You also want to complete the road outside the main line at the crossings. Next, mask the track around the entire layout. A handy tip here is to use drafting tape rather than masking tape because it pulls off easier when it's time to remove it. Now for one of the most dramatic changes to the layout: ground cover. This is where the styrofoam disappears and a natural landscape comes to life. We'll start with ordinary latex paint and foam turf. A tan color works really well when the foam turf is applied over it. Start by applying a thick coat of paint to an area of the layout. Here we will start with our hill in the corner. Before our paint dries, let's add ground cover to our newly christened hill. That's because our base paint will serve as an adhesive for the ground cover. Ground cover comes in a variety of colors and textures. We'll go with a light green and sprinkle liberally over our wet paint. Following up with a darker shade provides texture and depth to the landscape. Okay, we've got a good layer of turf growing and we'll bond it in place by spraying it with scenic cement. This dries to a clear, matte finish which really helps our ground cover take root and stay in place. At this point, we can add more foam turf if necessary. Just follow it up with more scenic cement. Here, Dick is going to move on to the next section of the layout, the hill inside the main line. Repeat the process in sections around the layout. Next to the train station, we will add a gravel parking lot. You can find different shades and sizes of gravel at your local hobby shop. Spread a layer over the wet paint and follow it up with a liberal coating of scenic cement. In this section, we'll paint the foam board, but skip the ground cover where our controller will be positioned. In the passing siding, the vegetation won't be quite as lush. This adds variety and realism to our landscape. Behind a row of shops on Main Street, the variety continues when we add an asphalt parking lot. You'll notice we're painting the foam under the structures and roughing in the ground cover. We'll bring the ground cover up to the structures in just a little while. We didn't paint under the train station because that kit comes with a base that will cover the foam. A darker brown cover goes in behind some of the buildings to mix things up a bit. Before we work around the lake bed has to be masked. We want it nice and smooth when we paint it and add water later. Once masked, the ground cover can go right to the water's edge. Amazing what a little foam and a lot of spraying can do. While letting the paint and scenic cement dry, we're going to paint the edges of the foam with our tan latex paint to create a nice finished look. Once the ground cover dries, a sanding block levels our roads and gives a weathered look to the concrete. A black marker and a straight edge do the trick when creating the expansion joints found in the real world. A few freehand strokes give us some cracked concrete that was repaired with tar. When applying the ground cover at the gravel company, a light gray paint works well, so there will be less gravel needed to cover such a large area. When using gravel, remember to be generous with the scenic cement. While the gravel dries, we can paint our lake bed. Black works well to create more depth in the water. Now let's pay attention to detail by bringing the ground cover right up to our structures. After marking the location of the structure with a pencil, we'll create a mask inside the outline of the structure. After applying some scenic cement, we can apply the appropriate ground cover. Finish up with more scenic cement, and when the mask is removed, we have a perfect fit. Continue this procedure around all the structures in the layout. The final touches on the gravel plant extends the gravel under the drive-through parts of the structure. Then Dick brings the gravel right up to the building. When everything dries, the masking can come off the track. We'll have to move the gravel plant to get at the spur tracks there. At this point, you can do final touch-up around the track. What landscape is complete without trees? Trees add realism, depth, and dimension. They establish time of year and region of the country as well. You can build trees from kits, but for a first layout, purchasing finished trees makes the most sense. No matter which type of tree you use, the trunk can be snapped into a base that comes with it. The base can then be glued to the scenery. We are going to take advantage of our foam tabletop by placing the tree directly into the foam. Nip off the bottom of the tree and carefully drill a 1/16 inch hole in the bottom of the trunk. A piece of wire is inserted into the trunk, and we have an easy, realistic-looking way to place trees on our layout. Dick will start by placing some clumps of larger trees around the layout. Smaller trees will fill in and create the variety you see in nature. The great thing about the wire in the bottom of the trunk is that it's easy to move trees to achieve the landscape you like. We're almost done, and the Madison Central looks great. Scale realism is one of the objectives of model railroading, and it can be achieved beautifully even on your first layout. What's a lake without water? Using Woodland Scenic's realistic water, Lake Mendota comes to life. This product is used right out of the bottle. Use a brush to spread the resin, but don't work it too much. It will level out on its own. Notice we clamped a board lined with masking tape to the edge of our table. This will hold our water in place while it dries. We can complete our layout with scaled figures and vehicles. It's up to you to decide how to set the scene. Figures and vehicles come in a wide variety of time periods and poses. Your imagination completes the picture, so go ahead and have some fun.